Okay?
I guess so.
Is that okay, Steven? I mean, I don't know.
But
There's two with my name.
yeah, it should be fine. It should be fine. I think I thought it was playing a factor into the echo, but it doesn't look like that was the case because we're not having the issue now. So,
Okay.
So are you the real Tamsin or phony Tamsin?
will the real Tamsin Bowles please stand up?
I had to.
All right.
So
I think we're live. I think we're live now. If one of you want to check the Facebooks and see if we are on the page, go right ahead. I think, but I'm pretty sure we are. Just double checking here on my end. It looks like we are though.
Okay, as long as you can see us both, then that's fine. And then there's nothing there. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And yeah, I believe we are. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So that's great. Awesome. All right. So we have updates regarding the Angela Freiner case and her upcoming family court hearing today regarding her family court case status. There's a family court hearing is basically her custody status is going to be determined of whether or not she gets her daughter back. But we've got some exciting stuff on that front coming up for you guys on Sunday. And I'm not going to reveal too much, but let's just say we're going to blow the whole thing and expose the whole thing. So long story short, that's some updates. We're going to have Angie jump on briefly. I've got some pre-recorded content to play for you guys from the Missouri AFCC page shortly here in a moment. Oh, perfect. It's done. Cool. Okay, we can actually start off with that, because that would be ideal. Let me make sure this is perfect. Okay, cool. Let me get it to the time code real quick, folks, and then we'll briefly watch a segment of this. It's something that Angie showed or put together, found for us regarding there's connections with it. This is what we're about to show you is a AFCC at a Missouri group meeting in person that was done in 2019, and it's regarding, they're talking about all the stuff that they're doing now in the court systems. They're talking about it and openly on these videos, more or less. And so there's a lot of stuff that's relevant to Angie's case here. So everybody needs to be mindful of that and aware of that, because these are definitely leads and connections that we can prove. So that being said, let's start the screen share for our viewers and share the sound, and then there we go.
Back when I'm meeting with the child, how do they do in school?
Say all the time, you think that if you do stuff out, you talk, but I'm going to work guidance, discoverability of the GAL file.
Sometimers. Sorry, Jeff.
No, it's all right. My topic is about discoverability of the GAL file and all the work that we've done and things along those lines. This is open, so feel free to throw something out there, because I really think there's not a lot of law on it, so it's really more of an open discussion. This is premised upon something that happened 4 or 5 months ago, where a GAL got hit with a subpoena for his entire file, his emails and his texts to the other counsel. And amongst the GALs that do a lot of
witch hunt.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, right. It was a witch hunt, yes. And amongst a lot of GALs, it became a sticking point for us. And there was a lot of people that got very ticked off about the idea of revealing our file. And the ramifications of it is we're never going to take notes. We're never going to email. We're never going to do the job we need to do for fear that somehow later it's going to be discoverable. I would give this portion to the litigant, to the trial lawyers, more than the GALs, but I'm saying it to you all so that you have sort of a defense. My question to them is a legal question. Can you get it? The better question is, should you? The better question is, why are you doing that? When in this particular case, this lawyer's client was of the belief that the GAL was in cahoots with the other lawyer, with mom's lawyer. Now, mind you, there was a custody eval, and the GAL was following the recommendation of the custody evaluation. So it was pretty straightforward. But for whatever reason, the lawyer didn't get control of the situation, allowed himself to be sucked in by his client to make the excuse of somehow you're friends with that other lawyer. And of course, it happens because a lot of us are friends. We talk in court, and we don't even realize that the parents are watching us talk. So I'm a GAL and I'm talking to, I'm talking to someone who's representing mom or dad, and we're talking about the weekend, we're talking about things, and now they think we're best friends. So you really have to be very careful. You were talking about that earlier, about you just happen to be talking about the weekend, you're talking about things, and parents can misconstrue it. In this particular situation, they wanted to see all of the GAL's texts and emails. If it was me, I would have thrown my phone at the lawyer and said, here, go for it, and never ever asked me to be a GAL again, because I found it very, very offensive. You're basically calling me unethical. As it turns out, what they ended up doing is they got a special master to come in and take a look at the emails and take a look at it, and as it turns out, that lawyer who was making the allegations had more communications via text and email than the other side did. And of course, those then had to be disclosed. Later in that case, because dad wasn't satisfied, the GAL gets another subpoena to have to now come in and testify. So there's some case law on point, but what I want to stress to you all when people are talking about it, it's not a matter of whether or not you can do it. Why are you doing it? Should you do it? Should you call a GAL to testify? I've been called to testify, and I get up on the stand and I basically summarize my entire case. It doesn't usually go well for the person doing it. So when you get to the point where people are asking that, I think you got to really say why you're really doing this. Is it just to make your client happy? Because that is going to backfire almost every single time, as it did in that case. So keep that in mind as we go along, is whether or not you should do it, not whether or not you can do it. There are two cases that I did recently that got handed out with you all, and I want to tell you about them. One of them actually came down September 17th, 2019. This is Duesenberg versus Duesenberg, and it's about GAL immunity. And it does a very good job of summarizing what our role is and some of how we are considered. And fundamentally, it says that GALs are agents of the court in a quasi-judicial capacity, and that in that regard we have immunity just like the court does. And it's a very good case, summarizes a lot of it, so I think that's a very important one to put in your research, because it basically gives us immunity, provided that the things we are doing are within the scope and role of a guardian ad litem. So the fact that you are interviewing the kids and you might have said something that dad or mom doesn't like, you made reference to drinking, have you seen the parents drinking, things of that nature. When you get into all that, the parents get very mad that you go there, but it's within the scope of what you're doing, and therefore you have immunity. So that just came out last week, and I really wanted that to come out. And the other case is the Robinson case. This is a 2003 case, and this is directly related to what I was just talking about, and this is the GAL being called to testify. This case actually says may, not can, shall, should. This says the judge may allow it. And I think it's very important that we make note that a lot of times all the judges in the party, they think that it's an automatic, that we can be cross-examined, and I like your idea. Give a closing statement. Then you're not subject to anything after that. Or submit your parenting plan beforehand. And I like
All right, I briefly wanted to share that with our viewers. I didn't want to keep it too long because it's about a good 20-minute segment where he speaks, but I wanted to show our viewers that particular segment because it is very evident, at least to me, that they're colluding and talking about stuff like very vaguely, as to me is evidence of collusion to cover their asses. And with what we've seen with Angie's case in the last year or so, is demonstration of, is evidence of that further. So I thought it was important for the context of the video and what's going on. That was dated 2019. Hold on one second. Let me double check the date on that because I gotta be sure. It was September 26, 2019, St. Louis Lunch and Learn Domestic Relations Service and gals working. So basically it was a meetup between all the gals out of Missouri on that date, and that they're talking about how they're going to cover their asses. With what we've seen in the last year, it basically is pretty clear just from the evidence we've seen that this is evidence of collusion before the fact, that they knew what they were doing if you put everything into context. So that being said, what do you guys think about that? Tamsin and Reggie, I'm going to get your input on what we just watched, just a little bit.
Well, it's just like anything. How can you trust anybody that's trying to avoid all responsibility for their actions? Like, I can't be held accountable, but lives are in my hand, but I'll never be held accountable.
Yeah, people make us look like we're the ones that did something. Why should we take responsibility when other people break the law?
I have a little story if I have time.
Yeah, go right ahead. I'm just waiting for other people to jump on. So
All right. Well,
Lisa too. So
years
we have
ago
time.
in an Islamic country, I don't know which one it was. Every new judge had to sit down in a certain seat. It was made from the skin of his predecessor. Somebody that perverted justice, took bribes, etc. So, you know, you have to be held, if you're going to have a powerful position, you have to also be held responsible. And we got judges. Oh, I'm immune. I'm a DA. Oh, I'm immune. I'm, what's that? What are they called?
Qualified?
No, those ad litems.
Guardian ad litem.
The gals.
No, I'm immune. Can't hold me responsible for it. I'll mess up lies, but I'm never going to have to answer for it. And that's what we're dealing with right here. And you can tell they're trying to avoid all responsibility for their actions.
You know, you're absolutely right on that, Reggie. I mean, like, just based on that video and the date on that video, and then what happened with Angie's case this last year. I mean, and what's going on with you guys, it's very clear. And mind you, you guys, I want to point out for our viewers, that DA in the Bowles family case, we have found connections to Missouri. He was born in Missouri, and that's where his social security number, or not social, yeah, was this social? Yeah, that's where that traces back to. That's a little insight that we haven't dropped yet for you guys, but I'm dropping it now because it's relevant. So I wanted to kind of like touch on that a little bit for our viewers, because we're seeing a lot of connections with these other states to Missouri as well. So this is clearly a linchpin area. So, you know, that being said, go ahead and continue, you guys. What do you guys think about that?
Well, it's from Missouri. That says a lot.
There's some good people from Missouri, but you know.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is there's clear evidence that he's has ties to this corruption that's in Missouri.
No, we know.
Yeah, there's a few good people in Missouri.
Well, of course, but what I'm getting at, what I was getting at for our viewers is that that's clear evidence to me.
Exceptional people. I mean, we know some exceptional people.
We do.
At least
yeah.
one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, well, of course, there's good people in every state, but what I was getting at.
I meant one that is really we hold very dear to.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, there's a couple that are there in that fight, but you know, they're so scarce, few and far between right now with how far this is reaching.
Yeah.
Like talking about that DA, we were going over that last night. You know, we brought up before that we believe that they tried or actually did withhold evidence on the ER report. And so, we start thinking that's the same thing on the police video. They showed a workers video, but they didn't show the police video. So they knew about the police video, didn't show it, because that would have been to our help. It would have helped us instead of hurt us. So they didn't show it. So we got at least two things now that we know the DA withheld evidence on or tried to withhold.
Yeah, and it's bigger violations in that police video.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's not only that, but like, I mean, what we covered in the last Sunday show with your guys' segments, I'm pretty sure it's a very, very evident and clear, but it's based on what we put together and how we did it for our viewers. I mean, Chris was just telling me after the show that the next morning that, you know, she couldn't believe how obvious it was once we put it together that way. And so she was complimenting me on my work with that in that regard. And that's kind of like the approach we've taken with the news for us, at least from the work that I'm doing on my end, is to be able to present it in a visual format that everybody can fully really grasp and see for themselves without having to do any of the legwork. And so we put it together, you know, these kind of evidence-based lives and even articles in that kind of the same fashion, based on U.S. common court law and precedent. But as far as our reporting standards go, and instead of appealing to the courts, it's to the people, you guys, our viewers. Because at this point, with how far this corruption stems, it's just like this is our last resort because of how far-reaching it is, and it's on in every institution, every in our local communities. It's a triad of racketeering between the school boards, the Department of Human Health and Human Services, whatever variation you have in your local communities, and then also the CPS system. So that's another connection. We have not really talked about much on the details, but there's a connection with the school systems, the public school systems that ties into that. And if you look at the paper trail, at least here in my local community, you'll notice that people, like, for example, one of my buddies here who's got an active lawsuit against CCSD. Because he got that, we've been trying to get him on the show and stuff, but he's not, because you gotta be careful what you reveal if you have an active lawsuit, folks, for those that are not familiar with legalese, so to speak. But long story short, he's telling me that he was seeing connections to, he was telling me that that the only time they ever, at least here locally, come after the kids from the outside is when they are able to make money, basically. So like we see trends in statistics of that with the public school students a lot of the time here, and which was particularly in his case. That being said, I don't want to go too much more into detail because we're going to cover that on another live this upcoming not this Sunday, but the Sunday after we do maybe even this Sunday a little bit, because it is relevant. But we'll cover that in more detail in our upcoming episodes, because I think that's another part of this that most people are not aware of. But it's a racketeering triad that we got going on in all of our local communities, and it stems all the way up to the AFCC, which is an international organization which is responsible for all protocols in the way that they're acting right now in these local court systems and these local family court systems. So there's a lot to cover, you guys. There's also a PDF book that I'm going to put in the description for later for all our viewers to check out. It's a book on the corruption in the AFCC and what that organization is and how it ties into the international community. Because not only are we witnessing this here, but they have, they are an international company, an organization. So it has reach in, in several other countries. I think Sweden might be one, Canada is definitely one, several others. So this is a global problem, people. This is not a United States problem. So anywho, I don't know where everybody is at. I'm sent the links out to everybody. I kind of need Lisa Bridge to get on here if possible. I don't know where Liz is either. And anyway, so why don't we just wrap it up with, I'm going to play the promo so people know what time and day and where to go. We need to rally the people, all our viewers, to come and support Angie tomorrow. So anybody in your local Missouri community in that area, please show up and advocate for her. Show up and we need to show up en masse. We need to hold their feet to the fire. And one of the ways we can do that is by your participation, viewers, and our advocates, our team of advocates that we are going to be there tomorrow. But we also need your help. And so we really want to get that out there. We've been so busy with stuff lately. We really were trying to do the live yesterday, but due to time constraints, we ended up having to do it today, which is really cutting close to the wire. I know, but people, we got to help her. We got to help her, and we got to show up in mass as much as we can. So it's at, let me just play the promo for everybody because it's on there. She put it together for us. But we really got to just get on the ball. I mean, it's supposed to be like a 45-minute presentation, so I don't know where everybody's at. So I'm just going to assume that people weren't able to make it. So we're just going to end it on this note. I don't want to keep it too long. I just wanted to give people a brief update on Angie's case. And let me find this promo really quick. Right, here we go. All right, cool. All right, I'm going to share the screen, everybody, and make sure I'm sharing sound. Okay, cool. And then I will be putting the location of the courthouse and everything in the description for you guys at the end of the podcast or at the end of the live after the fact. And so it'll all be there shortly probably within 30 minutes of the ending of the live.
As it turns out, there has to be a few disgruntled GALs from up through this. And we showed up and we got to do it.
something, we're doing this with the lane because I think we found that there are strength in numbers.
That was the brief little promo that Angie did for us. That's the location is that one in Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri Family Court System Division. I think it said 42. I'm not entirely sure. We're going to double check and put that in the description for our viewers so they can go and show up and show their support. Crystal, our on the ground advocate, is going to be there as well. We're going to kind of try and coordinate something for Sunday. Because we got a big update coming Sunday. I'm not going to reveal anything too much on that because it's going to be it's more or less for to surprise people, but I'm just going to say for operational security, more or less. Anyway, so please viewers, if you see this after the live, share it out. We'll have all the information in the description, what needs to be done, what we need your help with. So please, we need to expose these bastards because what they're doing is evil and they're taking our kids, they're going after our kids, and we need to put a stop to it, period. That's the bottom line. If anybody has any questions or wants to participate, you can reach out to either myself at Stephen Phillips, it's STEPHENPHILLIPS26@gmail.com, or my Proton mail. I don't recall exactly what it is off the top of my head. I'll put it in the description as well. Or you can reach out to one of our team members as well via our Facebook pages, or even to our INFOWIND new news page, or Heatherly Warriors page, or News for Us page. Any of the ones that we post to, please reach out. And if any of you viewers have questions or want to participate and help put a stop to this, because we're asking for your participation too at this point, audience. So yeah, let's make this shit happen. We have to, because they're coming after our kids. They're coming after a lot of our kids, and we need to rise the fuck up and expose it once and for all. This is bullshit. This has gone too far. So this is a rally cry for the people, for all the people that are watching and following this issue up. So you guys want to put a little bit less, your last 2 cents in before we wrap it up, because I don't think anybody's going to show up on this today. You just, on this one, we were only doing a 45-minute brief update, but I would love for you guys to put your 2 cents in on just what I just said and whatnot, if you want.
For those that are going through it, it's rough. And the people that don't know what's going on really need to find out what's going on out there, because it's not pretty. And it's going on, it's for real, and it's here, and you might be next.
If they're doing it to the Bulls family, if they're doing it to Angie, what makes you think, people, that they can't do it to you when there's no accountability? And that's what people need to realize. And so I would like to end it on that note, because I think that's a great way to end the segment, but it's a statement.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's what you're saying, and don't wait for it to happen. I mean, I knew what they were long before anything, but it's worse when it happens to you. It just has. It has to stop.
It has to stop.
We haven't done anything. They've come after us twice. All I did was protect my children, and I'm facing jail time. But yet I keep getting expected to admit to wrongdoing.
Right, and same thing with Angie. Angie's in the same boat. They're trying to silence your criminal prosecution.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. I mean, you could just be doing everything right, and whether it's CPS or an ex-husband, anything. And I mean, an ex-spouse, I've seen it. They often get CPS involved, not every time, but for them just to come after good parents, there's a reason for it. They make money off children. They make money off their.
They make more money by giving the kids to the abusive parents than they do the ones that are doing good. So that's what people need to realize. We're saying that they've inverted the whole freaking thing.
They make money off hardships.
Yes.
Like I like to say, my child is not an ATM, but they're using him for one. Both of them.
Yeah, especially our older one that they damaged and that they now blame us for damaging. As I sent you that report today.
It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous how far this has gone, you guys. I mean, I'm appalled by the level that it's stemmed to, just from the evidence that I see in your case and in Angie's case and in many others, you know, and just in covering this issue for the short time of the 4 months that I have been, it's just I'm beyond appalled and beyond I can't believe that there's actually people in this system and human beings that would do this to kids, knowingly, willingly, having kids of their own. Doesn't make any freaking sense to me. But they've clearly lost touch with the reality, and they have to be held. There needs to be account to be held to these.
One way they're getting away
Because if
with it
there's
is
not
by
any
false claims
accountability,
of abuse.
then this will only get worse, and it'll get worse and worse, and we have to stand up to it. This is bad.
It's hard to when they're making false claims of abuse, that they're in the right, making claims that they're in the right.
Yeah, but see, here's the
You
funny
get all
thing.
proof in the world
Yeah.
showing that, you know, that the accusations are false. You go into court and they just dismiss it.
Yeah, they're ignoring the evidence. People in
Yeah.
their own courses, and they're supposed to allow discovery from both sides, and they're picking
Just
and
ignore
choosing
it.
what they want to show, and that's acting under a color of law, which is by definition illegal law, mind you. So they're doing this. They're depriving people of their due process, just depriving them of their constitutional rights en masse, and they're doing it so they can traffic the kids to make money because
Yeah.
it's a racketeering system they got going on.
Mhm.
Let's wrap it up on that note, you guys. I thank you for showing up and kind of putting your 2 cents in, because that's why I always try to have at least somebody jump on just in case, because we're all so busy lately, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to do that, because it's important that
You
people
bet.
get these connections.
Mhm.
Thank you guys so much. We'll be in touch later tonight sometime. Okay.
Right.
Okay,
All right.
all right, thank you, Stephen.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.